another writing day, so join me today. The goal is to get 4 chapters done to keep the pace as last time, and it is Lost Kids again, and at least 14 pages, if not 4 chapters, or I guess vice versa, whichever comes first, at least, but preferably both or more would be lovely. So we will start our morning, and I will check in before the official writing starts. And it is time to start. So, like I said, my goal is to get 4 chapters or 14 pages in. My overall goal by the end of the year is to get at least 200 to 250 pages done in The Lost Kids. That way, it's a good chunk through. So, when the next year comes and I get back into writing after my second sabbatical, or I guess first, it's the first year, but it's the second sabbatical, as in I took a sabbatical, started Lost Kids, and then this will be the next one coming up. So page count is 116 at this point, and I have an idea of whose chapters I'm wanting to get to, at least some of them. I'm starting with Alder. I'm going to do Alder. I don't think he's going to switch personalities. If he does, sometimes he does. I don't know yet, but he's definitely at that point right now. I'm not going to give spoilers, but to say the least, he's been switching personalities throughout the day a lot more frequently than he does. Not current timeline does, but as far as in this is the start before he gets into more frequently snapping through personalities and having them all in his head, just more or less like growing pains type deal. Like, so he's more exhausted. They don't usually snap through personalities as often. They've already gone through each one, so there's 3 of them, so it's already gone through each of them like 2 to 3 times already, and it's already just like midday, so he's going to be exhausted. I'm trying to remember, like, I have symptoms for each of my characters that I have to keep in mind because I want it to be realistic in a sense of not giving a character something that they deal with and then not remembering that later down. So sometimes I have to remind myself, even if I have to go back and be like, oh yeah, maybe I should do this. Sometimes it aligns perfectly, like spoiler alert for my main series. So I will give a little click through if you have not started that. 3, 2, 1. But one thing that was convenient was coming back to realize that Maddie would be having withdrawals from her medication. I realized that a lot of things did actually line up well, like as far as in her having migraines and having a hangover and stuff like she did have a hangover, but there was a lot of symptoms there that actually did align really well for the timeline of when she would be going through physical withdrawals of her body, like going off of something that it's used to. So we will wait. 3, 2, 1. And for everyone that is clicking back into it, yeah, sometimes things just align perfectly, and sometimes I have to go back. So I'm trying to remember things the first time around or go back if I need to. But yeah, him being exhausted would be a symptom of snapping through personalities. Like, I understand that that's not something that, like, that is something that takes a toll on you. So in this kind of, I don't know if this is realistic, but it is at least book canon or universal canon for my writing universe of kind of like growing pains, to where you eventually get a build a tolerance to it. And that's kind of what, for one, that they're going to try to do in these first set of trials, is trying to build a tolerance to it. So he's exhausted now, but that's why further down the line he is not as exhausted, because he has built a tolerance of being able to withstand the flashing through personalities and stuff like that. But I'm starting with Alder. I plan to get into Tanner. I know that you don't know some of these characters. I mentioned that before. I get that, but one day you will, hopefully. So yeah, I know that I want to get at least 4 chapters. So Alder and Tanner. I might do Samantha. I'm not 100% sure. So basically, the last 2 or more chapters will just have to come to me when they come to me, if that is the case. But yeah, for now, we are starting with Alder, and I will give you a word count and a sneak peek, and then we will go ahead and get into the next check-in when we do about lunchtime. and lunch break has been had, and I'm about to get back into it. And I cannot exclaim how much I enjoy being in Jackson's headspace, like as far as in his whole deal, like all the different personalities. It is a fun dynamic to write in. And one thing that I'm starting to realize is how instead of just figuring out triggers of who comes forth depending on the trigger, I've also realized that I have to also start figuring out different dynamics of as far as in like right now they are about to swap, but the difference is like for example, if it's like an external trigger being as far as in social fear, then Connor's more than likely like is going to be the one to jump forth. If it's like something like that's environmentally scary, then it's going to be Alder. Like it just depends on like the external triggers. But this circumstance is a little bit different because it's more so an internal trigger. So especially with it just being solo personalities, there is a fly. Jeez Louise. It being just solo personalities coming forth, it more so is like as far as in having instead of just one of them being like, yeah, deuces, I'm gone for now. I'm going to sleep for a bit, and then just whoever's in the head just gets to keep being in the head. It has to specifically be somebody coming forth because no one else would be there. So, more or less, I have to separate the brain from the personalities, like thinking about okay, so in the mind in whole, what like if the mind was a person and the personalities were separate from the mind person, then who would it choose for this situation? Like who would it assume is best equipped to handle this situation? So thinking about it from that perspective makes it a lot easier because if the mind, I'm not saying the mind is a person of itself, but saying as far as in the mind being like the body and the person, like as far as in if you don't have multiple personalities you are your mind, but if you have multiple personalities it's kind of just like your mind would have to function separate of yourself, kind of like if your body's sick, it's not you that's like, hey, I need this, this, and this. Like of course you're going to be like, okay, I'm not feeling good so I need a specific kind of medicine, but your body or your mind would be saying, okay, this is what I need you to do, body, like lungs do this, blood cells do that kind of deal. So this being like the way I'm thinking about how it would decide, or it would be the deciding factor of who needs to come forth, especially if they're not as, or if there is not a specific trigger, kind of like luring the person out, I guess to say that. I don't know how that sounds, but as far as in like some personalities are going to come forth because it's just like there's something specific that is just like in the environment or around them that's going to make them want to come forth, and then other times where it's just like the brain more or less is just like, who do we need right now? Like who would be best equipped right now, because who is in the driver's seat cannot handle things, so we're going to have to swap. But thinking about that is kind of fun. It's very clinical, I guess, in a sense, but also pretty fun because I enjoy all the characters. Even though my favorite, I enjoy them all, I love them all, I adore them all. But yes, my favorite by far is definitely Liam. I just very much enjoy his archetype as far as in his character archetype. I'm a sucker for that kind of character archetype. Uh, there's like 3 different kinds of character archetypes that are just like my favorites and just like who I like to be in the head of and who I like to write or read from, and Liam is definitely, it fits that quota, so it's just fun. Like Jackson is very much on par the same because it's just like there's the David archetype. Like if you've read my series on Patreon, David very much is a character archetype that I enjoy, that very sunshiny, very much sunshine character, but can be emotional at times and can go through hard things. That's very much I enjoy that. Then there's the Liam archetype that is very similar to the Calston archetype. Like they're very much very similar, which very much explains things in the main series. And then there's the Madison, where it's just like sometimes I'm in my feels, but I try to be a good person, but I just trauma and am trying to life it out. But that, I guess, would be closer to the Jackson. Jackson fits that archetype. Like, there's those three are my favorite to write, as far as in somebody just trying to be a good person, but often is in their feels, or just like a sunshiny character, or just like a... So even though my boy is not in it yet, because it is not that time yet, he has not come and been created yet, I am still very much enjoying it. But yes, that was a bit rambling from me. So you will get a sneak peek of what I wrote. Let's get a word count in. Let's get some lunch in. Let's go on to the next writing block. And the night has been had. I am done with my sprint for the day, and I did get 4 chapters done, and I definitely emotional roller coaster. I wrote in another one of the point of views that I adore, Tanner. I adore him. He is just one of those David archetypes type deal, character archetype, where it's just like kind of, well, I guess less David and more Madison. Like, it's very much tries to be a good person, but can be in his feels and be in his head a little too much, which I guess David too can be, but he's more, I don't know. There is a difference. I just can't explain the difference. But yeah, definitely another one of my favorites. I got his point of view done. I did flip into at Jackson's as like kind of like a wind down, and then I did Samantha's point of view. Again, characters you don't know or have clue about, because they are not like really mentioned too much in the main timeline. I think definitely Tanner is not mentioned yet, but he will come into play at some point, not majorly, but definitely background. I do have plans for background. But yeah, that is the end of it. My progress for today, I did get 14 pages done, so I wanted to get 15. I upped it to 15, but then the Lord is funny and made it 14, because that was my original goal and what I got done last time. So 4 chapters, 14 pages. I'm on par for getting 200 to 250 pages done for the end of the year, and I'm excited. I hope I can get there. But yeah, that is the end of my night, and I bid you all adieu. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good whenever it is for you. It is night for me, so good night to you. Goodbye.